The Lost Year, Chapter 10, A Gift. Gwen raised an eyebrow as Arthur came up to her the day after Lord Gedrig had been arrested.
We finally got the full story out of Merlin. You're my friend, Gwen. One of the few people in this castle I know I can trust. Next time something like this happens, you come directly to me, or Sir Leon. I've told Merlin the same. No one should have to go through that. If anyone tells you they're dealing with it, or have heard rumor of someone else going through something similar, tell me. I can't protect from something I have no knowledge of,
Arthur insisted.
Thank you, sire,
Gwen said, curtsying.
Is Merlin all right? A few of the other maids saw Leon escort her back to Gaius's chambers.
Gwen trailed off her question, hanging in the air.
She's all right. Willis found my father, Sirs Leon and Franken, before Gedrig could do more than tear her tunic, though Leon says she looks pretty bruised,
Arthur said, running a hand through his hair. Gwen frowned.
Oh, she loved that tunic.
Gwen's frown deepened. Arthur blew out a breath.
You're a seamstress, right?
He asked, and Gwen resisted the urge to roll her eyes.
I am. I made many of Morgana's dresses,
Gwen pointed out.
Could you make something for Merlin? She and Morgana are of a size, right? I mean, Merlin was in Morgana's dress when we rescued her from Hengist,
Arthur said, and Gwen nodded.
I could, but Arthur, you may not be aware of this, but fabric is expensive. Good fabric, especially.
Gwen pointed out gently. Arthur frowned.
Follow me,
Arthur demanded. Gwen raised an eyebrow, one that would look less out of place on Merlin's face, but followed. He led her back to his rooms and pulled a small box out of one of the cabinets. Pulling a key off the top of the cabinet, Arthur unlocked the chest and pulled a handful of silver out.
Would this be enough?
He asked, and Gwen blinked.
Half of that would be more than enough for fabric to make several shirts,
she said, and Arthur nodded. He handed her the coins.
Tell whoever you need to that I asked for fabrics. Wanted to see why Morgana loves your work so much. Something like that. You're clever. Please make at least 2. God knows, Merlin only ever wears the same 2 shirts.
With this much, I can do 4,
Gwen said, staring down at the coins in her hands.
Maybe more.
She shook her head, and Arthur grabbed a small leather pouch, helping Gwen pour the coins into it.
How long do you think it'll take?
He asked. Gwen shrugged.
A week for the first one. If I say I'm making it on your orders, I don't have much to do these days,
Gwen admitted, her face falling.
Take your time with them. Maybe make them pretty? I don't really know what women like in their clothing,
Arthur admitted, going slightly red. Gwen stifled a laugh.
It's sweet that you're doing any of this. I'll see what I can do,
Gwen said, curtsying again. Lady Emma stayed near a week longer than she'd planned, partly because she'd caught wind of a bit of mischief Prince Arthur had planned with Gwen, the sweet maid Merlin had swapped places with, to spare her Gedrig's abuse. So maybe she helped with that bit of mischief, supplying some rarer embroidery thread from the supply she'd brought with her. She got to see Arthur's previous squire knighted, and looked forward to the day she could watch her own son earn the Red Cloak of Camelot. She grinned as she helped Gwen wrap the first part of the gift. She held the ribbon while Gwen tied it in a neat bow. Emma grinned and hugged the girl.
You are lucky to have each other. And Arthur is lucky to have the pair of you. I hope my Willis makes as many real friends while he's here in Camelot,
Emma said, and Gwen smiled.
If he is anything like his mother, he will fit in just fine, my lady,
she curtsied.
I hope so. This is a wonderful place, and I plan to visit as often as I can,
Emma said with a smile as she closed her last chest.
You'll write and let me know how she likes the tunics? Absolutely I will, my lady. You are far too kind,
Gwen said, picking up the package.
I must deliver this, but I hope your journey back to Gedref is peaceful. Thank you, sweet girl.
Lady Emma stepped out of the room. She had one more meal with Uther and Arthur before she left. The servants would deliver her luggage to the carriage. She was pleased to see Merlin back on her feet, though her face was still quite colorful. She smiled and curtsied to Lady Emma, who inquired after her health, making her go a bit pink, and glanced at Uther, who nodded to allow her to speak. Lady Emma preferred to let her servants speak freely, but she knew Uther had other rules. I am well, my lady, thank you.
How is my son's progress?
She asked. The meal passed pleasantly, with Merlin serving the wine, another maid serving the meal. She left after, glad when both Merlin and Arthur saw her off. Uther had a council meeting he could not miss.
You are both wonderful. I am proud that you are my prince,
Lady Emma said, curtsying to Arthur.
If you care half as much for Camelot as you do about her, then we are all in good hands,
she said, conspiratorially lowering her voice, so only the three of them could hear. Merlin's whole face went red. She ducked her head, and Arthur's cheeks dusted pink, but he held his composure better.
Thank you, my lady. I trust you'll have a safe journey,
he said, and Lady Emma smiled again.
Thank you, my prince. I hope to hear often of my son's progress, and I expect an invitation when he earns his knighthood,
she said as she stepped up into her carriage. She rolled out of the courtyard and spotted Merlin turn away from Arthur, wincing as she tried to scrub the blush off her cheeks, forgetting about her bruises. Leon had planned to simply set down the package Gwen had given him and leave, but Merlin entered her room before he could. She blinked, going a little pale as she spotted him. He grinned, holding out the package. A friend asked me to deliver this, he said, and the slight fear and confusion on her face that he could not for the life of him find a reason for vanished. A friend? She asked as she took the package.
A close, personal friend,
Leon said, trying to hint at the true sender of the gift. The pink on Merlin's cheeks under the yellow of the bruising was a bit difficult to spot, but he grinned as she seemed to take in who the gift was from. She didn't move to open it, though.
Open it. Gwen spent quite a long time on it,
Leon gently pushed. Merlin bit her lip and opened the package. She gasped at what lay on top. It was a brand new neckerchief, bright blue with carefully stitched embroidery around the edge, making it look as though tiny stars adorned the edge of the fabric. They were only a shade or two darker than the scarf. The tunic under it was made of fine but sturdy material, a vibrant Camelot red to replace the red one that had been torn.
This is far too much,
Merlin said, and Leon shook his head.
It's not. Merlin, you've done so much for all of us. This is the least we can do for you,
Leon said. Merlin set down the package and hugged him. He smiled and patted her on the shoulder. She turned and picked up his cape. He'd left it with her the other day to leave her modesty. As she did, something large fell to the floor, and Leon spotted a leather-bound tome. Not out of place in this space. Most flat surfaces had at least one book on them. Merlin's smile turned forced as she shoved his cape at him. Thank you, Sir Leon, she muttered. He smiled and nodded.
You're welcome, Merlin,
he said, taking his cape and making his way down the stairs.
Oh, I think Arthur's expecting you to bring him dinner,
Leon informed her, teasing slightly. He thought it was a bit odd when Merlin nudged the book that had fallen under her bed with her foot. He shook it off, though. If anyone had proved themselves trustworthy, it was Merlin, even if she was a little odd. I'll make sure to be on time, Merlin said with a little laugh. She closed the door, and Leon thought he heard her sigh in relief, but ignored it as he left. Next time he saw her, she was wearing the new tunic and neckerchief. She'd used it to pull her hair back, as she sometimes did, but smiled at him as he passed. Any doubt he'd had vanished after a good night's sleep.